Well, for many married couples, falling in love and saying I do was the easy part. Living happily ever after, of course, is the challenge. Here with some advice on how to make your marriage last is Manhattan divorce attorney James Sexton. He is the author of the new book, If You're in My Office, It's Already Too Late, a divorce lawyer's guide to staying together. Welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Kind of like a little bit of an oxymoron. What inspired you to write this book?
You know, I think you can learn a lot about how to keep things together by watching how they fall apart. And I've spent 20 years working with people whose relationships fell apart. And I think, you know, we don't know who discovered water, but it wasn't a fish. You know, when you're in something, you don't always see it. So I have this opportunity to sit back and see it from a little distance for my clients. And it just struck me, you know what, try to put myself out of business and write a book about how to stay together.
So you've seen, like literally you write about it in the book, there's nothing you haven't heard. Yeah. What are some of the biggest problems that make marriages fall apart that you've seen? Well,
you know, I would say marriages fall apart for the big reasons that all of us would predict, right? So adultery, financial impropriety, dishonesty. But no single raindrop's responsible for the flood, you know? It's all these little things that lead to those big problems. And that's what I try in the book to talk about, is those little ways that we create distance with our partner that ultimately lead to those big marriage-killing problems.
And that leads us to some of the advice that you have for people. One of the things that was interesting, you say, because you always hear, you know, you need to change yourself, work on yourself first, then don't worry about your partner. You say it's easier, I should say, to change your partner.
Yeah.
Explain that.
Well, I think we're constantly in the business of manipulating the people in our lives. You know, we're not supposed to say it out loud in polite society, but of course, you know, we're constantly changing our environment by praising things that we like in someone, by trying to reward good behavior. And I really think, you know, when you're married to someone, you want them to be your cheerleader. You know, we live in a world where we're just criticized all the time, and we have this internal dialogue that's criticizing ourselves, you know, and we're looking at everyone else on social media and feeling bad about ourselves. So you have an opportunity when you praise your partner, the volume is so loud on that to your partner. So you can use that power for evil and make your partner feel bad about themselves, or you can use it for good, and you can, you know, manipulate your partner by praise. I remember dating a woman once who liked me when I was clean shaven. Now, if she'd said, oh, I don't like your scruff, I would probably have resented that and said, hey, you know, I have to be shaven all week. I like to not shave on the weekend. But the fact that she went, oh, man, you look so cute when you're clean shaven, I went out and bought 10 razors. Because that praise, it's a way of manipulating me, but in a good way, in a way that feeds the relationship.
And on the flip side of that, one of your chapters called Hit Send Now is to let your partner know if there are those little things, or when I should say, when there are those little things that really bother you, to not let it fester.
Right. It's the opposite of the advice that all grooms get given at weddings. They get told, you know, happy wife, happy life, you know, learn how to just say yes, dear. But that's actually how people start creating distance, is when they push those things down, these little things that are creating distance between them and their partner. So what I talk about is a technique I call Hit Send Now, where you send an email to your partner, gives them a chance to review it when they have the time, when they're in the headspace for it. You're not sitting in front of them, so they're not as defensive as if you tried to have a conversation. But it creates an opportunity for you to say, look, here's this little thing that happened. You know, that comment you said about my sister at dinner the other night, it just sat weird with me. That's how you prevent things that, listen, you're married. People know. You're sitting and talking to your partner about what's the best place to get Chinese food from, and you're disagreeing about this little thing, and 5 minutes later it's, you know, I never liked your mother. I mean, how did we get here? What just happened?
Right.
What happened is those little things built up. So Hit Send Now is a way to prevent that from happening.
And you have a whole chapter, actually more, you talk about Facebook a lot, and you say you're an idiot if you use Facebook.
If you're in a committed relationship that you want to keep, yeah, I think Facebook is a terrible idea. I owe Mark Zuckerberg a tremendous debt of gratitude, and I think all divorce lawyers do, because it is created, Facebook has created what I would call an infidelity generating machine. It puts you in touch with people you probably have no business talking to. What's the first thing most people do when they get Facebook? They go and see what's every ex-girlfriend or ex-boyfriend they're doing, you know, up to. So there's so many problems with Facebook. I devoted a whole chapter to talking about the issues I have with Facebook.
So better just not to be on social media.
You hang around a barbershop long enough, you're going to get a haircut.
Exactly. So. And I also like, you talk about the list of things to keep your marriage together is a lot shorter shorter than what really can drive it apart.
Yeah.
Things like patience and empathy.
Absolutely.
And forgiving and forgetting.
Absolutely. And I think also remembering that divorce exists. You know, remember that love is not permanently gifted, it's loaned. And that every day you wake up and you recommit yourself to this relationship, to this partnership. You know, I still believe, after doing what I do for a living for so long, that you can find the best parts of yourself and see your blind spots when you're in a relationship with someone who you love. And I really believe that if we remember that marriage is, again, it's not a permanent contract necessarily, it's something that's loaned to us, someone's love, I think we can learn a lot about love.
Well, thank you for coming in. There's so
Thanks
much more I
for
could
having
ask
me.
you about, but we're out of time, but I appreciate
Hope
it.
to see you again.
If you can find out more information, more of this great advice on our website. Again, the book, If You're in My Office, It's Already Too Late. CBS 2 News Sunday morning. We'll be right back.